How's it going, everyone? It's your favorite apostates. I'm McKay.
I'm Jordan.
And today we have kind of a very special update.
An update I was not anticipating making.
Ain't it special? If you're unaware, make yourself aware. You can go to our channel and see the last episode that we uploaded. We did a little bit of talking about what Meredith Foster has been up to lately. If you don't know who she is, you can go over there. Check out the little rundown we gave and see a little bit what she's been up to. Mostly what we were alarmed by when we were reacting to Meredith's video was the striking similarities between the relationship that she has formed with this new Brighton Fairley character to the relationship that we were seeing play out before us with Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt.
And their very early relationship, because we covered Jodi and Ruby at the beginning of their connection together, and we watched their relationship transpire over months, and then we followed them through their subsequent arrest and trial and sentencing for child abuse. So let's be clear, before anybody gets their armies in a wad, that we're not saying that means that the people that we're talking about in this video, Brighton and Meredith, are going to commit crimes, have already committed crimes, are more susceptible to committing crimes. We are not saying that at all. We're saying that the parallels between their behavior now is giving very weird parallels to Jodi and Ruby's very early behavior when they started working together. And we're not alone in this. We only found out about this because people sent it to us and said, this is giving Jodi and Ruby. And we have videos on TikTok now that are going around that are hovering close to 1 million views on each of them and 500,000 on the other, where people are like, before you even said anything, I thought Ruby and Jodi. And so there's definitely something off here. Doesn't necessarily mean it's something sinister. I really hope for all of our sakes that it's not, because I really don't have it in me to watch another thing like this play out into something bad again. That's not our hope here. Our hope here is to be like, maybe outsiders are pointing out red flags. Some of the stuff here is kind of bizarre, and maybe we should do something about that. And the nuance here and the fact that I'm an associate licensed therapist and weird, bizarre things regarding ethics and how you identify yourself in a professional space and credentials and all of that stuff plays a role here. But the reason that we're back at this today is not because another video has been made. I'm hoping that there won't be, but I probably think there will be. But the only reason we're making this video today is because Meredith herself, from her official channel with her little verified little check mark, commented on our video. So we thought it important to give you her perspective from what she commented on this video. And then we can kind of break down this comment and statement that she left 10 days ago and the video that she attached to it and our thoughts on it. And feel free to drop yours in the comments as we go.
In her comment, she writes, by making this video, you're supporting the narcissists that repeatedly abused me verbally, emotionally, physically, and sexually. You're no different than those abusers who silenced me when choking me, so I couldn't speak or breathe or tell. Your video and words are not a warning. They are shaming and defaming of my, and in parentheses, Meredith's, personhood and Brit's personhood. You are fueling the lies I had to fight to get free from in order to even be able to break the silence. You are giving the abusers a voice instead of me, and you are telling anyone that's been abused they should remain voiceless. I am horrified that you would attack my sister who loves and supports me, who is gentle and kind to me, and who I asked to come on my channel. You do not get to define who I identify as my family. Your words are extremely harmful. You are accusing me and my sister of being criminals by comparing us to those people in your video. You are shaming both of us for speaking out the truth of our abuse. You said, is this about religion or cultish? It's all about Jesus. It's about a free, grace-filled relationship with Jesus. I have been freed from legalism. I believe Jesus came to save, not condemn. You are persecuting us for believing in Jesus and for breaking the silence about abuse perpetrated against us. And then she links a YouTube video, which is from the Mel Robbins podcast, episode entitled, You're Not Crazy, You're Just Dealing with a Narcissist.
Which features the amazing Dr. Ramani, who is a fabulous expert resource on narcissists and narcissism. And
sorry, girl, we are already
I've
familiar.
got her book. I've read it. I've tabbed it. I use it with my clients. So, I mean, I'm all for linking great resources.
Yes.
Okay.
However, I don't think that she was linking resources. It seems like she is trying to apply a label to us.
Yes, it seems she is implying that we are narcissists. One could only take that away from that very randomly placed video.
Yeah, and mentioning narcissists who had abused her, which is valid. Obviously, we're not trying to discredit what she has spoken of regarding her abuse. It's very real. We believe victims and everything.
It's not the issue.
However, I do not see a single rebuttal to any of the criticisms that we made against Britain. And
Not one.
personhood is definitely not one of the criticisms that we were making or things that we were trying to take away from her or Meredith for that fact.
No. I tell you, when I came across this comment for the first time, we had literally missed it. She had left it and we didn't even see it until the next day.
This was, just for context, this was around the time that a former president was
was
getting
in a little bit of a
nearly-
mishap. Things were a little chaotic, and I had chosen to disengage from media for the evening. I read this and I was stunned because there is so much. Like, that's why we were like, we have to do a video on this, because there's so much here, like, to break down that I just, like, I feel like I don't even know which path to explore. Like, I don't even know which direction to go or what to start kind of picking apart and trying to analyze. I mean, unequivocally, if you know anything about who we are or what we do, or if you've watched our videos from the beginning or you found us on TikTok or whatever, you know, we unequivocally support survivors. I'm a survivor of long-time sexual abuse my entire childhood, and I went public with my story years ago after coming to terms with the fact that I felt that that was the best path for me. And so I'm an associate licensed therapist. I'm never going to come out here and shame somebody for sharing their story. I don't know if she didn't watch our video. I don't know if she didn't watch it in its entirety. Like, coming from a Mormon background, if anything is perceived as criticism or critical or persecution, we tended to just steer clear of those things and we wouldn't watch them. Like, we would make assessments of those things and even judgments without engaging with the content at all. And so there's no way of knowing whether or not she truly watched the video. If she truly did and that's what she took away, then that's a little bit of a different conversation. But that alone makes me feel like, and her addressing the title at the end that I put on the thumbnail is weird. But then she also in the middle says, you don't get to say who my sister is or who my sister is. Like, girl, no one's saying that. We're just saying,
We're pretty obviously
like, biologically speaking, it's kind of hard to understand if we don't know who you are, but like, whatever. So we unequivocally support survivors, and I am one myself, and I would never in my field, my position, professionally, personally, shame anybody for how they tell their story, if they do, when they do, how they do it. It's not my story to tell. And you have a platform and media for which you shared that. And I think that's great. And whether you go into great detail or you don't go into any detail at all, fine by me. But I think largely even we could possibly even label it as like defensiveness when like the persecutory thing comes out, it detracts from anything else. So no conversation around any raised criticism, no comments on questions, no comments on ethics or people's positionality professionally, none of that. So like all of this, like this is all just like word vomit of like, with nothing to do with like the actual content that we're concerned about. Like, you're comparing me to a criminal. No, we're not. We've already talked about that. Said it then, said it now.
Do you need me to put a clip from that video of us saying it?
I'm not trying to insinuate that the people that are involved are committing any crimes or abusing any children. So before you get ahead of me, relax. I'm not insinuating that. We're not saying that these two women are going to do anything heinous or are going to commit crimes or anything. Said it then, said it now.
Yeah.
So we're avoiding that.
That's always a huge, huge red flag, is when people raise concerns and make criticisms and the response is character assassination. That does not quell our concerns. That raises even more concerns. And something extra concerning here, she made this from her verified account. It's Meredith Foster. She's always been the one.
There's no question.
This bit right here, your video and words are not a warning. They are shaming and defaming of my, parentheses, Meredith's. I know it's you, but is it really? If you have to clarify that, that's weird.
It makes
and
me
Britt's
think,
personhood.
when we talked about this initially, it makes me think that maybe somebody else wrote this, that Britain wrote this, and she put Meredith so that Meredith would like put that there or would emphasize that it's her talking. But why would I think that it's anybody else if you're making the comment? Why are you specifying? This just makes me more weirded out by this dynamic.
And one of the things that we had talked of was the fact that Jodi had come into Ruby's circles and commandeered her social media to start boosting her message.
Yep.
And it feels like this was written by somebody else who has access to the same social media that she has. So it's not inspiring much confidence in the things that we said being refuted.
Well, I just don't like, this was made from a very emotionally charged place, which there's nothing wrong with having emotions and responses to things. But it seems to me that she made this comment fairly quickly after watching this or seeing it or whatever it is. But I mean, I just, as an individual, professionally, personally, don't appreciate the comparison that we're supporting people who sexually abuse people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't appreciate that insinuation because, one, it's not accurate, and two, it's just like plain inappropriate. Like, there's nothing that has been said or done that has ever called to question your experience or your personhood. Like, you're instead using this as your shield from the other valid criticisms that were given. And the majority of them were actually directed at Britain and more concern for you. But you come into this very defensive with no, like, I don't see Britain in my comments.
Yeah. She has her own YouTube channel. We've seen it. She can come in and make her own comments on what we said about her. If she'd like to clear the air, she's welcome to do so. And we would happily walk back what we said, delete the video, you know, anything like that. But
I'd love to be wrong.
The defensiveness is alarming.
Well, and you're no different than those abusers who silenced me when choking me so I couldn't speak or breathe or like, okay.
You have a voice. You have 4 million.
Your platform is like 10 times the size of ours. And so it's like, nobody's taking away your platform. Nobody's telling you can't tell your story. Nobody is doing any of that. So I don't understand.
We are saying that the relationship is weird and it's kind of alarming in the fact that we're concerned about red flags that we see in the relationship that Britt has with you.
And I mean, is it different than what you put out? Like, is your relationship with that person different in like actual life context than what you put out on the internet? Sure. But again, you decided to make this video. You decided to put this out there. You decided to have this very personal, intimate conversation on the internet, and you decided to put it out there for the world to see.
It comes with the territory.
Like, we get hate and shit all the time. Like, that's what we talk about. Like, there's criticism with any platform because obviously there's somebody that's not going to like what you have to say. Yeah. But to compare people to choking you so that you can't talk. Yeah. Like, I don't know where that's happening. Like, I'd love for you to clarify that because I don't see that happening here. Like, I don't know how many times I have to unequivocally say that we support survivors and how they share their stories.
Would you classify the news anchors who are reporting on a crime to also be accomplices in that crime? Because it feels like we're getting roped in with these kinds of people who we are not.
Well, it makes me wonder about the kind of boundaries in this situation with that. Because we're sort of like, we're talking about two distinct things here. Because there's Meredith sharing like aspects of her story that were very general, but that she decided to somewhat share in that video. And then there's our criticisms around their interactions, Britain's credentials, the purpose of all of this, the weird behavior in the video. Like, those are two distinct things. But it concerns me if somebody's in a relationship with someone where those two things start to overlap. Where, like, your abuse and your feelings about your abuse are so closely tied to criticism against Britain. Like, why are those things so attached? Why are these not two separate issues? I don't understand why these are coming up at the same time, other than the fact that you've talked about them in the video separately.
Yeah.
But why is your response to those things literally about your abuse, which was not any of our content concern? Also claiming that like we're giving abusers a voice instead of me, and you're telling anyone that's been abused you should remain voiceless. I'd like to know where that's happening.
Timestamp. Let's hear it.
Like I
Hit
don't.
us with a timestamp. Give us an example. For instance.
Like I'm truly trying to interpret this in good faith. Like I really am. But this comment is, I mean, it's unhinged. Like I'm kind of over it at this point. Like we're 5 sentences in and this is off the handle. Like, this is not neutral. This is not analytical. This is not, I can have emotion, but I can still come across what I need to say without insinuating that you're abusing me when I don't even, like, I don't know you personally. And so I don't know how anything that you're insinuating has happened. And I don't know how we're supporting those people. And then telling other people that, like, if that happened, like, let's roll with that for a second. If that happened, and it's not just your interpretation because you're triggered by what we had to say. If that happened, then our comments would be flooded. Our comments would be flooded with people saying the same thing. They would be saying, because we have plenty of people who watch our channel who are survivors of many different forms of abuse. And so if that was the case, then there would be loads of people in our comments on our ass about, this was inappropriate. You need to rephrase this. That wasn't okay. I felt violated by that. Like,
and we welcome that. We expect our audience to hold us accountable for the words that we speak because they matter.
And we apologize when it's necessary.
Absolutely.
But that's not what happened. And so again, I don't know where that's coming from.
Yeah.
And then also, I'm horrified that you would attack my sister who loves and supports me and who is gentle and kind to me and who I asked to come on my channel. What's attacking? If I came out here and was throwing out insults like nobody's business, attacking physical characteristics, making contemptuous comments, then I would see why you would come in my comments and be like, why are you attacking me? But that's not what happened. I repeatedly said in that video, I am a professional in this space who respects other professionals, especially with advanced education and degrees and experience. And I am not out here to dog another professional if it is not warranted. And
however,
so, where is that?
The credentials.
Where is that? Like, I don't see, if that is not clear, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, I don't know where to go from there. Like, there's a different, and this is why this is so emotionally charged in this comment, like attacking. This isn't attacking. This is raising questions and valid criticisms that could be solved with very simple answers. Like, very simple. In my opinion, like, if this person was qualified in the way that they said they were, and I'm open to being corrected, and I hope that I'm wrong, why wouldn't you just say that? Like, wouldn't it be so vindicating to come on our page and be like, you dumbasses, here's her license, here's her credentials, here's her license number. Here, like, wouldn't you just lay into us with that?
Whatever.
Like, wouldn't you just provide that and be like so smug and feel like so satisfied with yourself? Like, I would love that. Like, I would be like, oh my God, what a relief. This isn't another unqualified person lying and saying things that aren't true. And I hope that's not the case. But again, wouldn't you have done that? But instead, you're spinning out around things that are unrelated to the criticisms that we levied. And saying that we don't get to define who I identify as my family. Yeah, you're right. We didn't. I simply was like, who the hell is this person? And she looks way too old to be your sister. I'm confused.
And I said, oh, it's probably a Jesus freak thing. And I'm not going to be out here saying that we don't make jabs. Because we do. We do. And we have plenty of Christians in our...
But we try to make them well placed.
I'm not trying to be out here just hating or anything like that. It's just
we don't for no reason.
And maybe we took it a little too far on the accent thing. I just think it's kind of weird because I spent 2 years in a Spanish-speaking country, and most of that time I only spoke Spanish. When I was a Mormon missionary, most of my companions, 10 out of the 12 companions that I had, only spoke Spanish. And I spoke Spanish all the time. And my Western American accent never faded. So I just think that's kind of strange. I don't know. That might just be me.
The other thing that stood out to me about this is people who are so in deep with religion. Like, and again, we don't have anything wrong with religious people. We were formerly religious people. Half our audience is freaking Christian by the numbers that we hear. And so
we have family who are Christians.
There's no issue.
We even
there.
Still have family who are Mormons that we have everyday relationships with.
But they would never not use an opportunity like this to, in my opinion, proselytize. I have an opportunity to turn this, even though I just called you a narcissist, said you sexually, physically, emotionally abuse the people who, or support the people who abuse me, and said that I'm terrible and that you're taking my voice away and that you're insulting me and attacking people and all of that shit. And then you got to end it with, but in Jesus, girl, it's all okay. Like, I just went mean girls on your ass for like 2 minutes, but I'm going to end it with,
it's all about Jesus.
I've been freed from legalism. Like, where did we go? I'm confused. What does that have anything to do with what we're talking about here? And so it's all about Jesus. It's a grace-filled relationship with Jesus. That's great. Address my concerns. Address my criticism. Address all the other people in the comments who are just as concerned as we are. And then saying you're persecuting us for believing in Jesus. My issue is with your professional friend. I got my own beef with Jesus, but I don't have issues with your Jesus, okay?
If you want to be extra big fan of Jesus, that's fine. To an extent.
Great.
Obviously,
I don't care.
We'll talk about some stuff that we find concerning about your theology, but we wouldn't have to dig deep.
That's not what this is about. Like, if I came on here and I was like, you know, you shouldn't believe in Jesus and God forbid and no personal freedoms and you can't be religious,
you should
not
be
allowed.
Jailed for believing in Jesus.
You should be jailed.
You should be executed for loving the Bible.
Yeah, like, that would be persecution. But this is what every other religious person does when they face any kind of criticism, is they scream persecution and run the other way. And
trust us.
We've done it.
We did that.
We did it all the time. So I've been in your shoes and I understand, but it becomes a protective mechanism. It becomes a defense mechanism for critical thinking, logical thought process, any analytical type, sit here, let me think about this, let me process this, let me analyze, look at all directions. She can just dismiss our claims and not give a shit and not care. And like, that's totally her right. And I wouldn't blame her for doing that anyway. But she can do that much easier when it's like, oh, well, these people's intention is just to persecute. And that's where things get dangerous, because you can say that about anything. Like, I'm concerned about for people who are like deep in cults, like legitimate cults where we've seen disastrous consequences, where families express concern.
Fatal consequences.
Fatal consequences. And we see people that are like, you can't listen to your family because they're just persecuting us because we're committed to Jesus. We're committed to God. We're committed to whatever deity we're worshiping in this sense. And that's where this kind of thing gets dangerous, because you can't, like, it's kind of a barrier for critical thinking. It's a barrier for being able to self-reflect and cause introspection in a way that might be uncomfortable at first. Like having to sit with, let the defensiveness subside. The feelings that I have are valid. Now let's actually think about this from a logical standpoint and see how we feel. Because that's what I did with this comment. Like, I gave Meredith the benefit of the doubt. If she really felt these things, I wanted to sit with what she said, think about it, make sure there was nothing that I could have done that would have suggested these things and other people would have thought these things. And that's the process, because my instantaneous reaction when anybody criticizes me is defensiveness, because I feel like it's just a normal human response. But you have to get past that. You can't stop at the defensiveness, because then you never get anywhere. Because then nobody can criticize you for anything and you can't make any change.
Additionally, by making this comment, and instead of responding to the criticisms, clearing up any misconceptions that we may have had, and going for straight up character assassination, you unfortunately fell into the trap of ticking another box when it comes to your relationship relating to the Ruby and Jodi relationship, because this was the first thing that I thought of as soon as I read this comment.
We watched a video a minute ago on YouTube, and there were a few people who were being very aggressive.
If I ever have a single shred of respect for Ruby Franke or Jodi Hildebrandt, it's because I have lost all of my self-respect. I don't like them. I think they're terrible people.
They were being foul-mouthed.
What the fuck?
What the hell even is that anyway? Holy shit.
You stupid fucking piece of, like...
And they were very angry, and it was blaming anger. It wasn't truthful anger. It was, you're doing this to me, and you're doing this to other people, and how dare you do that? And it was very clear that they were in this distorted position. And then after they spewed that for like, I don't know, a half hour, I mean, I was feeling sick just listening to them. And then they said, love you guys.
Thank you everybody for joining us. We love you all so much.
Just like that. And I was like...
Well, the whole video was just like, they looked bored out of their minds. I said, did they roll out of bed and make this video? Because they kind of look like it. And their tone was down. And then at the very end, they perked up and like, well, thanks for watching, subscribe, and we love you. And I'm like, okay, there's manipulation right there. They knew the right words to say. They knew to wake up their faces and get bright. And it was not sincere. You cannot compartmentalize love. You cannot say, I love you, and then turn around and hate you.
So that's a little awkward. Sorry for having to point that out, but it is what it is.
The context was, if you weren't around at this time, was we made a video. We had many criticizing Ruby and Jodi for their very harmful things. And this video was one of ours, and it was posted in a passenger subreddit with people going, they're absolutely talking about Jordan and McKay, right? And that's how it even came to our attention initially. But they used stock photos of married couples, and at the time it was wild.
We had also recently posted a video
that was very in depth on why the two of them were problematic, and they were clearly very upset by it. So again, why are we here? This is weird. I'm uncomfy. I have a pseudo therapist, not therapist, trying to give me interaction and advice, and stealing a very high profile, millions of subscribers YouTuber's platform to further her own stuff. And I am just very uncomfy. And removing, I think something that we neglected to mention last video too was how much Ruby's personality and Ruby's character traits and things changed as a result of Jodi's involvement. Like the way that she changed her profile photo, and then she changed her YouTube photo, and this is the name on the YouTube channel that's very religious focused. This is exactly what all happened with them. Was Ruby essentially lost all hallmarks of her family vlogging channel and her kind of unique personality quirks as part of that. And Jodi's just got lobbed on top of it.
Which her losing the family vlogging thing isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No,
but
not at all.
In this situation at large, it is kind of the signs of something more sinister that was going on.
For sure. And again, we're not saying that that's what's happening with the other two. But again, it's weird that I'm here and similar things that are happening. And again, Jodi and Ruby never responded to any actual criticisms that we had.
No.
They
Character
said stupid
attack.
shit like this. They would annihilate our character and imply things and insult and all kinds of other things, but never actually getting to the heart of the actual concerns that we levied, which turned out to be
very valid.
Very valid and unfortunately accurate, and panned out in the worst possible way. But that's just what we're saying here is again, I'm uncomfy.
And then to even further undercut our expectations on there being any sort of resolution or shedding any light on any of the criticisms that we made, right before we sat down to film this, we went and checked Britain's website, BrittonFairley.com, and it is now completely inaccessible. And not only is that site completely inaccessible, but also the DBT informational site that Britain had linked is now completely inaccessible as well. Which,
because remember, we had to log in.
Two things that we had brought up. Yeah, and we had to log in, and we were
and it
taking
worked.
a look around.
We got on there, we looked at videos. In our last video, we went in detail on the whole website, and then now you can't do that. Now there's one
So-
password for the website, and presumably Britain has it. And so nobody can get in there now.
Yeah. So it would seem that rather than answering questions, we're just locking everything down, because that's the website for her book, which
Yeah.
she's trying to promote. So
Which is bizarre.
I don't know.
And since people watched our last video, the main thing that I've gotten so many DMs, but the main thing that I get is like all these people who are like, I can find anybody on the internet. I can do like FBI level searches and find people no matter how much they try to hide themselves. And I have had so many people in my DMs who have said, there is no internet presence for this woman. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Which in today's day and age,
It's like
absolutely
miraculous.
unheard of. Absolutely unheard of. Especially when you have your own website, you're an author with a published book that you advertise and market. You used to have a blog, like all of these things. Like, it's weird that this is your name, but you have no internet presence. And I've had lots of people ask me, like, is it a fake name? I'm not going to speculate whether that's true or not, but it is bizarre when you go to look up a person's name and you get zilch. Like, absolutely nothing. The only other thing that I was able to find to correct some information from the last video, when we reacted to the video in the intro, there's another woman in there besides Meredith and Britain. And I didn't know who it was. I thought maybe it was like somebody related to Britain, but I was unsure because they never clarified. I was doing some searching to see if I could track it down, and I was looking at some social media posts, and I found an event that Meredith went to with Britain and presumably her daughter, because this image was captured on Getty Images, and on Getty they will list the people in the photo. So in the photo, this other person that's listed is named Honor Fairley, same last name as Britain, so I assume the age gap appears that this would be her daughter.
Yeah, and she said she has adult children.
And she says she has adult children. Could it also be like a much younger sister?
Could be.
Maybe. I assume it's a daughter, but who knows? I totally could be wrong.
We have absolutely no way to figure that out.
We just know that based on that last name and that was in the photo, presumably there's a relation between the two of them. And so I also tried to look up this other woman, and wouldn't you know it, did I find anything? Absolutely not.
Nada.
So we have now another individual who's part of this whole thing that has zero internet presence. Is it possible that people don't have internet presence? Like, there's plenty of people who don't go on social media, who aren't active on the internet. Like, yes, that's a possibility, but this is just too far. Like, there are so many data websites and things that collect our information.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely unheard of for you to not be able to find something. And I also had somebody who DM'd me who had, I think, looked through some foreign database for licensing for like professional psychologists, therapists and things, and ran her name, and nothing came up in there either. Now, is it going to vary from country to country on things? Yes. Is there a chance that it wasn't the right database and she's in another one? Sure. But again, we're just continually running into dead ends. Like, being on this channel and doing research on people for as long as we have, it's very rare that we encounter a situation where we can't find a pretty decent amount of information on the people that we're doing research on, which to me is another red flag. Like, why do you have zero presence on the internet? Like, it does make me think that this is not your actual name. That's speculation on my part. That's alleged on my part. I'm not saying that's actually the case, but I'm saying if you had a fake name that isn't attached to anything, no government records, no phone numbers, no addresses, nothing, then it would make sense that when you search it, nothing would come up because it doesn't exist.
Obviously, we understand internet safety. The internet is a dangerous place. I'm going to say it like it is. It's a dangerous place, and we, for the longest time, enjoyed anonymity and not being able to be found. But adopting, I mean, if you're going to parade yourself as a certain professional, it's important that people are aware that you have the proper credentials to present yourself as such.
And if you have them,
Strange.
like, especially if anybody who I know who has a PhD, I'm like, parade that shit, write that shit on everything, because you worked your ass off to get that degree. Yeah. That's so much time, so much energy, so much sacrifice. I have so much money. I have tremendous respect for people. Like, my supervisor has a PhD. Like, I have tremendous respect for people who will go to such great lengths to advance themselves in a career and become experts in things. And so, like, if you are truly an expert in this and you serve these populations and you work with these women and you do these things, like, put yourself out there and own it. Like, I want to get behind you. I want to be able to support you in that. I am here to lift up other professionals in this field who are especially working in spaces like perinatal mental health, which is largely underutilized and under-resourced as a whole. And so I am more than happy to lift you up in that sense for doing that work. But I can't do that as another professional, because then that comes back on me. I can't say you're reliable. I can't refer things to you. I can't do any of that because I don't know if you're even a freaking professional. Like, and it's dangerous to me to say that what you're doing is okay when I have no information, because then that comes back on me.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you plaster that shit everywhere? And why wouldn't you own that? Like, it just doesn't add up to me. And then I just wanted to follow up quickly on the last video. I mentioned how it was bizarre that Meredith presumably went to this, like, Christian weird event, in my opinion. And Brittany Dawn, who is a frequent flyer on the channel and in Fundy Snark.
A scammer. And
it's just an overall terrible animal abuser, horrible human being. And her friend Farron, her on and off again friend Farron, I guess I should say, Meredith and Britain, and the two of them, Brittany and Farron, were at the same event. I had pictures of them at the same event, just separately. Well, then I found additional pictures on Reddit and some video where, like, in this photo specifically, you see Britain and Meredith sitting there with some other women I didn't recognize. But you can see the person in the blue dress and, like, the very dark hair right behind Meredith's head. And then the blonde girl, like, in the process of sitting down, is Brittany and Farron. And then additionally, I also wanted to include this video, which has Farron and Brittany standing on the left side, and then not far at all from them is Britain standing next to Meredith at this event. I found that interesting that this is like a Fundy crossover that I did not see coming, and because I found more photos of it, I wanted to include it and say that, like, it wasn't like an in-passing thing. Like, they were all there together, and there's a chance that they interacted. So I thought that was interesting. And so I checked just out of curiosity. Brittany follows Meredith. Meredith follows Brittany. The likelihood that they talked during this event or are connected in some way, it's probably pretty high.
Yeah.
And so just not a person that I would be associating with.
Yeah.
Things are stacking up, and it's not looking good.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
But she's forgiven. Even though she has to pay out to the people that she affected financially, she is forgiven by God. So
she is forgiven.
You know, it's fine. It's fine, Jordan.
Yep, I guess so. It's just waiting for the next zipper in the dryer video.
Additionally, Jordan was taking a look at Meredith's podcast from, like, years ago, and
2022 to be specific.
Yeah, this year's. And there are some, like I said earlier, some alarming things about the theology that she espouses.
Riley met me last summer. She said to me later, not when she met me, she was like, Meredith, I sensed, like, darkness around you. She's like, I sensed it. And she didn't tell me that. Otherwise, I probably would have never hung out with her again. But she told me later, and I didn't even go see anyone to, like, get delivered. I just spent time in the secret place, and I spent time, like, just, what is the word? Not consecrating myself. I mean, that's the word, but it sounds so weird when I say it. But just, like, kind of keeping my mind and my eyes on the light, because it says, if your eye is full of light, so will your body.
And I told my friend, because she's been experiencing warfare for a very long time, and I had to pray in the spirit and cast that demon out because it was following her. And this is very important. People can transfer spirits through sexual intimacy and through items that have been given to them that they have that they have given to them based off of just because the other person was oppressed. Like, I knew after I the oppression was, I felt the depression that they were feeling. And I feel like the churches or people don't really talk about this, that we need to cast out that spirit that has led into us.
Well,
And
yeah, you need to ask Jesus to basically break the soul tie, because
Yeah.
I know that I had probably formed ties with people through what was happening.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not talked about. It's like such a taboo topic, but like we've talked about it before.
Soul ties are real,
Yeah.
like.
So now if she's watching, she's going to get real triggered, because now she's going to feel real persecuted,
Now
because
we
I am
ventured.
coming for her theology now.
Yes.
And this kind of extreme, like, I hate, it always red flags in my brain anytime I hear people talking about other people with language like darkness. Because people who talk like that, there's a category of them who are just not okay. And that includes, like, severely not okay people like Chad and Lori Daybell, who also talked about people having darkness about them and things of that nature. And they did some obviously not okay things. And again, we're not saying that that's what's happening here, but that kind of language, in my opinion, leads down potential paths to extremism, if you think that's the case.
Yeah.
And so it's a dangerous path to be walking. It's a slippery slope from those kinds of thoughts to extremism. And this is where her and Brittany probably get along, because Brittany's also a big perpetuator of this idea of soul ties. But when I hear things like, you know, this other co-host on her podcast who's talking about, like, you can, like, possession and, like, sexual intimacy, you can be, you know, like, just very frightening things to think about, and needing to be delivered, and those kinds of things are always potential red flags to me for, like, we're in dangerous territory. Doesn't mean we ventured down the path of, like, severely scary, and I'm very worried, but it means we're dancing on the balance beam of scary. Like, there are people who believe these things and live life this way and are fine.
B-Dong has never done anything violent toward humans.
But towards animals, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Her husband has, however, but here nor there. That's kind of where I get concerned, is, like, when you're in that space, you're susceptible to things that, like, are terrifying. And it's easy in a space like that, like coming from a background in Mormonism, where believing things like that can get you easily taken advantage of, easily manipulated, because people appeal to those things.
Yeah.
Or people appeal to those kind of ideas where it's like, I can save you. I can help you. I've been in your shoes. It's like, it's easier to manipulate people in that way. Like, you have to be extra careful. I'm not saying that people who reach out in that way aren't necessarily genuine, but it does, like, to me, you have to be on, like, heightened alert, because people know how to easily manipulate people with that language.
And hey, this was like 2 years ago. It's 2022. From what we can tell, Meredith and Britton's relationship was probably in its infancy around that time.
Who knows?
And I really hope that a mental health professional would kind of push back on those, frankly, dangerous ideas. And maybe she's changed since then.
I
would
doubt
hope.
it.
I would hope. I will give the benefit of the doubt.
I won't. I'm skeptical. And that's fine. And she can be triggered by this and say I'm persecuting her for her beliefs here, but I am criticizing her beliefs. And I stand by that from my personal experiences and opinion, the danger of language. Like we talked, like her whole comment was about people's comments and language and how it matters. And that's exactly what I'm trying to illustrate here is how to be so careful and the slippery slope into extremism. Like we have Ruby and Jodi, who were just average run-of-the-mill people. Mormons, housewives, raising kids, Utah, nothing extraordinary about them, nothing presumably out of the ordinary about them to begin with.
Prison.
And then they
prison.
slipped into extremism. And that's scary. And so this is just frightening that we have parallels here. And could their parallels end here and they go a totally different direction from this?
I'd love to see it.
Perfect. That is great. That is awesome. Like, let this all be just a very strange, weird coincidence.
A misunderstanding.
A misunderstanding, maybe. But as time goes on, my concern level is rising. This comment, the period of time between videos, there hasn't been another video like this that they've posted. Britain further privating her website. It's not doing anything to quell my concern.
Honestly, we want to see some consistency. If you're going to talk the talk, then walk the walk as well. Because we will find things. You can bet your ass that we'll find things, because it seems like we found something and that was a sensitive spot
And now
with
it's gone.
the website, and now it's gone. So just,
Or people will send it to us. Like,
Yeah.
we are not the only people on the internet who are digging into
our
what's
awesome
happening here.
followers kind of tipped us off on this.
So if you
it
think
will
we're the only ones
around.
doing this, like, I'm sorry to
Yeah.
say that's not the case. And there are people who are a lot meaner
Yeah.
than we are,
This is going easy, honestly.
honestly.
So,
I tried very hard to be patient. Like,
yeah.
we don't just hate for no reason, not trying to intentionally cause problems. Like, there's just concerns here, and I hope that they're answered for and rectified, and everybody moves on and lives a happy life. Great.
Yeah.
And I don't have to make videos about this anymore. Great.
To wrap everything up, if you liked what you see here, you want to see more of it, you can hit the subscribe button down below. You can ring the bell to get notifications when new videos are posted, when we go live, things of that sort. If you want to support us even further, take it the next step. You can join our Patreon or become a member of the channel. It's right next to that subscribe button down there. You get the same perks on both of them. It's just whatever flavor you like more. I like the YouTube one more because it integrates more things that unfortunately the Patreon people do not get. But as far as stuff from us, you will get all the same bonus content, bloopers, cooking videos, and coming up soon, we'll have a Mormon movie watch party on July 31st. So if you would like to join in on that, you can check it out, and we'll be doing that soon.
For our
Get
lowest
in
tier.
now. Yeah.
Lowest tier.
Anybody.
Yep. Hop
Lowest
in.
on up. We're gonna vote. We're gonna do a vote on what movie we watch, and I won't stop it until I have all the discs right here. I won't stop the vote until an hour before we go live. So get the votes in and everything. If you want to follow us on Instagram and TikTok, we're posting clips on TikTok. So if you can't sit through the whole video and you're like, let's just get a little speed run of it, you can head over to our TikTok and see some of the highlights from the episodes that we post. So you can follow us on TikTok and Instagram. You can find us at Jordan and McKay on both of those. And then you can also join our awesome Discord community full of super cool people. There's conversations of all sorts. It's not just about the stuff that we do on the channel, but there is a place for that kind of discussion and things. So you can find the link for that down in the description down below. We love you. You're awesome. Don't lump people in with bad people just because they say things that you don't like. And we'll see you next time.